Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Extra Point. I'm Lauro Antonio with James Gonzalez as we are going to be recapping Super Bowl 56 and get to more news and notes around the NFL today. I just want to get this out there that next Sunday we will have the Extra Point tomorrow next Sunday at 8:30 p.m. Pacific time, as we will be doing a wrap-up and putting a bow on the 2021 season and look ahead to the 2022 season, which will be next Sunday. I want to get that out there just so you all know. I'll announce it at the end of the program tonight. So, James, how's it going tonight? And you enjoyed the Super Bowl?
Sort of. I just wish my team was in there, but I'm happy for all the long-time Ram fans that were in LA or moved away. You know, when the team moved to St. Louis, a lot of fans went to other teams and whatnot. And then the Rams came back and some people came back. And one of those were my dad, so I'm happy for him. I'm happy for Casey King out there. I'm thinking about all the Bengal fans out there that, the old ones, who saw the team in 82 and 89 lose the Super Bowl, and it's just another heartbreak for them. It's a third one. They were hoping a third time would be the charm, but, unfortunately they fell short.
Yeah, they definitely fell short here. I mean, you like the halftime show and all that? That was awesome.
Actually, I got off of work, and then I got home watching the game, and then I was like, you know what? I'll sacrifice being on the Extra Point instead of watching the halftime show. So I sacrificed to be here tonight with you and Ben and Isaiah.
All right. I mean, Isaiah and Ben will be joining us shortly here. So, anyways, let's recap Super Bowl 56. I mean, the first half was kind of like, it started with the Rams being out in front, and the Bengals tried to come back. In the second half, the Bengals got off to a good start. The Rams came from behind to win. Joe Burrow didn't even have a good fourth quarter. He had somewhat of a minor knee injury, nothing to panic about. But at the same time, Aaron Donald really sealed the deal with that strip incomplete pass that Joe Burrow threw at the end of the game here. I mean, when it was like 30 seconds, when Joe Burrow was driving his troops down the field, I was kind of thinking that we would get another overtime type game. But tell you what, the Rams defense really got it done.
Yeah, you got to be proud of them. You got to be proud of, first of all, Aaron Donald getting the monkey off his back. You got to really give it up to Von Miller. He got a sack today, and he's one guy that is experienced. Some other guys unsung on that team made some big stops, so that was great to see. Unfortunately for the Bengals, they ran out of time. They ran out of luck. The one thing that puzzled me on that fourth down play, where they only needed 1 yard, Joe Burrow went to a shotgun formation, and he couldn't step up in time. Aaron Donald, and there was about 2 other Rams there ready to sack him. And it just puzzled me why they went to a shotgun formation when all they needed was 1 yard, and they could have ran the ball, which they done pretty well throughout the game.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, I think that the Rams, however, they played great defensively, but the Bengals, that offensive line is still not good. Their defense wasn't that great to begin with, and there were penalties in the fourth quarter that really came back to bite the Bengals.
Yeah, it was timely penalties when you think about it. It had to be on that last drive. I think it was a 15 play drive, and had to be down at the near the goal line where you're trying not to give anything, and you're grabbing as much as you can, hoping the referee doesn't see anything. And well, they see everything. So the Bengals will definitely learn from this. The defense will have to get better. You can really say though their defensive line put in work tonight, getting to Matthew Stafford. Remember, just you mentioned Burrow's injury, or where he limped off the field. Stafford had, almost an identical issue there. I thought, that looked really bad, and but hey, the victor goes to spoiler, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, but anyways, if you talk about the Rams winning the Super Bowl, there's a lot of guys that we got to credit here. Matthew Stafford for getting a Super Bowl ring, and then also talk about Cooper Kupp winning Super Bowl MVP. Not only that, he was the Offensive Player of the Year this year, and I think that I also thought that this was a good overall win for the Rams here.
It's kicking me. I should have went with Cooper Kupp, but I had the thinking as, quarterbacks always win the MVPs for the big games. But in my heart, I was telling me James, you should pick Cooper Kupp to win it. And I didn't. And I feel bad about that. Luckily, there was no money involved or whatever, just pride.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this was definitely pride there. Let's go to our comments section, and Brandon Herrera joins us now. And he says, let's not talk about no face mask call in the first drive of the second half. What did you think about that call here?
That was bad. Bad that it was not called. And, it goes to show you, Ramsey said he was ready to go and ready to stop anyone that was against him. And you saw he got beat, 3 or 4 times. But the time there where he definitely got pulled down by the receiver and he went on to score. Was that T. Higgins or was that Tyler Boyd? I couldn't remember who scored that touchdown on Ramsey.
It was T. Higgins.
Yeah, it was T. Higgins. That's what I thought. And Higgins, he definitely grabbed the face mask. And I was surprised how less of an effort it took for Higgins to pull down Ramsey, unless Ramsey flopped. We'll never know, but yeah, that play looked very puzzling. And that was at that time, of course, where the Bengals were just taking the mojo away, but they couldn't capitalize on it anymore during the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was definitely a really good game here. But now back to our comment section. Brandon Herrera says, Kupp is the first player since Rice to win Super Bowl MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, and Receivers Triple Crown. And he also says Ramsey flopped like LBJ. And Casey King, our loyal viewer and Rams fan, says, good evening, guys, and how about my Rams? Wasn't easy, but they got it done in the end. And Casey, I'm a Patriots fan myself, but I do follow the LA Rams because it's LA and all that. But, at the same time, I think that the Rams, however, are the Rams got it done in the hard way.
Yeah, let me say a few things, low to Casey King. I met him back in, I think, 2018. I went to the Rams and Chargers game at the Coliseum. He was a tremendous person to meet, along with Angel Barron, I believe his last name was. At any rate, Casey, living not in Southern California anymore, still a big Ram fan, always has been, always will be. So I'm very proud for him. I'm proud for his team. He's been a loyal fan for years. And I'm just happy for him that they, finally were able to climb the mountain, coming back to LA and, winning the Super Bowl. And now they should certainly enjoy the view.
Yeah, he definitely should enjoy that one. That's for sure. I mean, this was a good win, and I'll tell you what, this was a good super. This was actually my first ever Super Bowl that I witnessed in my hometown of Los Angeles, and it was great. It was a good way to end a great Super Bowl week, and I think that I do expect, because the next three Super Bowls are going to be out west. As you know, next year Super Bowl 57 is going to be held in the desert of Arizona, when we'll be at the home of the Cardinals. So Fox will have that next year, and we'll have to kind of talk about before we dive into more NFL stuff. So you have an early favorite on who you think's going to win the Super Bowl next year? I kind of say Green Bay, assuming that Aaron Rodgers is back. I think that he's going to be on a mission next season.
I'm gonna be like Aaron Donald and just say, "Hey, I'm just gonna enjoy this," but it's not my team winning. Considering that Aaron Donald and Sean McVay come back, I think the Rams definitely still have a chance to win. They did it without Odell Beckham Jr. Sadly he got hurt. He landed wrong and twisted something with the ACL. I didn't know what it was, but it was one of those plays, non-contact, very awful. But he got a ring, and I think he's willing to take less to stay with the Rams, and we'll see if he changes his mind or not. But I think you still have to go with the Rams. They still have Ramsey. I don't know if Von Miller will come back for less. I don't think he will. But you still have a great team there that's built to win at least 2 more seasons. So as of right now, I would still say the Rams are the favorites for next season. But man, that's so far away from right now.
Yeah, I think I would, and then going back to our comments section, Kansas City is the early favorites to win it all, which I think could happen.
Yeah.
And like I told you guys yesterday, the Bengals have 15 unrestricted free agents. They will be broken up. I'm like, not necessarily. I think the Bengals have a bright future to build around with Joe Burrow and all that. So definitely the future's bright for the Bengals with Joe Burrow. They're going to be back next year. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, those free agents I got to look at and see. Some are definitely at key positions, though, that have been there a while. And the way that you replace them is going to be very difficult, I think. But the thing is, the Bengals really never keep anyone unless they're a quarterback or a receiver. But they don't really put together a great roster. That's the only issue with the Bengals and Brown and the whole front office. Now, you got to look at their whole division. There's going to be changes abroad in the whole division when you think about it. Baltimore struggling. It'll be the last season under contract for Lamar Jackson. Same thing for Baker Mayfield. The Steelers have to find a new quarterback or go with whoever they have now. So the whole AFC North is up in the air when you think about it. And that might help the Bengals.
That might, but let's go back to our comment section here. Christy Wilson says, the Bengals have a bright future. They just need a few more pieces. Absolutely, Christy. You're absolutely right about that. And I think that the Ravens will somehow extend Lamar Jackson. And I think that I also think that that the Browns will find a way to extend Baker Mayfield. So, anyways, we'll talk about more of that next week. And we'll also get some of the guys' reaction when they hop on. So anyways, let's go to our coaching news that we haven't talked about yet. I mean, and it's basically, and then we'll have another one tomorrow, another one when the offseason begins tomorrow, when Kevin O'Connell will now take over as the Minnesota Vikings head coach. We'll have to get our thoughts on that. So let's go on to the Saints here and talk about what is your reaction to Dennis Allen being the new head coach of the New Orleans Saints. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, as I mentioned, I think a week ago or whatever it was, hopefully he's grown up under Sean Payton. It's good to have somebody in-house. I don't know if he's the right fit. The last time he coached back in, 2014, 2015? I don't know, 2014, 2013, I should say, with the Raiders. He did not do well. He lost the locker room. They never played for him. Schemes were awful. The Saints as a team are in shambles when you really think about it. You got the Kamara situation. You have the Michael Thomas situation. As Chrissy just said, really quarterbacks play there. It's not stable. There's a big if and when Winston will come back, and then you have Ian Book, and then Taysom Hill is basically a running back. He's not really a quarterback when you think about it. So the Saints are in shambles, and Dennis Allen is just put in a horrible spot. Let's just say. So I don't think it's gonna go work. I'm gonna forecast it right now as rainy days in New Orleans, but man, we'll see. It's a tough task for Dennis Allen, though. But at least he gets to be a head coach again. But I hope he learned something under Sean Payton. I really do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Sean Payton's a great coach, and Dennis Allen's going to be focusing on the defensive side of the ball for the Saints. But I also think that he needs to find a quarterback, though, and have a good offensive coordinator, though.
Yeah, we'll see, man. It's going to be a tough task, like I mentioned. I don't know if yeah, he might not be there after a while. There might be a couple years and Allen will be let go, honestly. They might go a whole different direction. Like, I really like what Christy Wilson says right here. Allen might struggle with the Saints. And it's true. The defense, hey, that's fine. But in this league, in that division, you got to put up points. So we'll see. We'll see.
And then we'll talk about what is your reaction to the Houston Texans hiring Lovie Smith as the new head coach of the Houston Texans?
Don't shave Lovie Smith. Be who you are. And I'm happy for Lovie Smith. If you recall, he was the Bears head coach, first African-American head coach to be in the Super Bowl, then along with Tony Dungy there in the same game. Then he went to the Bucks, and he had struggling times there. He went to Illinois and kind of struggled there somewhat. I'm happy for him, and I'm happy that they kept it in house. And honestly, there's no real expectations there with the Texans. He could be there however long he wants to, however long they'll find a replacement for him, maybe in a couple years, because the team isn't really going anywhere. But at least he can bring in some professionalism. I don't think he'll lose the team like Bill O'Brien did. And that was during, even in winning seasons, if you think about it. So again, I'm happy for Lovie Smith. I'm happy that he got a coaching job again, head coaching job. And again, their ceiling is very, very low, and we'll just see how they do.
Yeah, we're going to have to see how they do here, James. And I think that Lovie Smith does bring stability. I think the players of Houston are going to love playing for him. And I don't think the Texans are going to be as good as Jacksonville. I don't think they're going to be as good as Indy or the Titans.
Ooh, it's a long climb to the top. You got Davis Mills. You have some playmakers offensively. They have a really underrated defense when you think about it. They just have to get better, and it starts with their draft pick coming up in the draft in April. We'll see what happens, but it's going to be a long, long process to get all the pieces into the puzzle together for Houston. That's for sure.
Yeah, you're right. It's definitely going to be a long process there. That's for sure. But anyways, folks, let's talk about our reaction to the 2021-2022 NFL award winners. And Brandon Herrera has some question for me. And he says, Lauro, you already picked the Jags to win the AFC South. I'm with Isaiah with this since they hired Doug Peterson. When they hired Urban Meyer, I didn't pick them right away just because I wanted to give them time to develop with Urban Meyer, but obviously that did not happen. But with Doug Peterson, he changes the whole complexion of the Jags. But I do think that the Jags are going to get pieces around Trevor Lawrence so that he can thrive here. So that's what I'm thinking here. And someone wants to know, do the Texans take Kenny Pickett with the number 3 pick? I would say no. I think they go with Kevon Thibodeau because they believe in Davis Mills. And I do think, however, that that Davis Mills, right? I think that the Houston Texans will definitely give Davis Mills a chance. And I think that Davis Mills will be their guy going forward. And I think it's time for the Texans to find a way to release Deshaun Watson. And anyway, speaking of releasing, so Christy says Indy's winning the AFC South. And I'm like, I'm not sure about that. They're probably going to be releasing Carson Wentz. And I would be like, if they do trade Carson Wentz or release him, Frank Reich's going to say, Sam Ehlinger, you're next. What are your thoughts?
It's almost like you're kind of screwed either way. You might as well keep Wentz, but he didn't really do well, I guess, enough to keep his job. When that story came up, I was kind of shocked in a way because I thought the Colts had no other options, and to go younger, I don't see it working out. But I have to think Tennessee will still win the division, despite who they may lose in the offseason. Indy has to prove themselves offensively, and it starts with the quarterback position. And we'll see if the new guys are ready to go. If, training camp will be very interesting. We'll see if anybody is in the draft that they go after. But it's another chapter in Carson Wentz's career of just, nothing. Where, you think he's going to do well. He's back with his offensive coordinator, now head coach, and he's just deteriorating, honestly. And it's sad to see. I don't know where Carson Wentz goes. He might have to back up somewhere like Mitchell Trubisky did, honestly.
He might. I mean, I think that could definitely happen here, but we'll have to see here. So anyways, this person wants to know, did the Titans lose Tannehill mentally with the rumor that they would trade Tannehill for Aaron Rodgers? No, it had nothing to do with it. John Robinson, the GM of the Titans, said that Ryan Tannehill's their guy.
Salute.
Oh.
Yeah, with Tannehill, first of all, they would have to take a lot of money in to even get rid of Tannehill. And I don't think there's a lot of teams that want him to get Rodgers. I know that whole thing with Rodgers building a house in Nashville was a big story, but that could mean nothing, You know how the media swings things, but I think Ryan Tannehill, the GM too, said of the Titans, he said, Ryan is our quarterback going forward. That's all you need to know. So I think Tannehill will be there for a while. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, anyways, with that being said here, now let's talk about our award reactions here. So talk about who offensive rookie of the year. Ja'Marr Chase. That was well deserved.
Yeah, no, there was no doubt. He was far ahead on that list of any other offensive rookie. No doubt he was the best, and he certainly showed it. That Loro, it all goes back to what I said, I think, on Friday with Ja'Marr Chase. Remember the preseason, or I think it was just before the season started, whenever it was, Ja'Marr Chase said, well, I can't catch the ball because it's a bigger football, and there's no lines on the ball. Well, it looks like he didn't have a problem catching a one-handed catch in the Super Bowl tonight. And throughout the season, he had, 14 touchdowns. It was just amazing. And I hope for no sophomore slump. I hope that this is a connection going on for years. And I did hear, or read, I should say, that Ja'Marr Chase wants to buy the house next to Joe Burrow. So imagine those two together every day you know, just as buddies on and off the field. Imagine that, man. That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, that definitely will be awesome to have that, and you know that. So, anyways, talk about defensive player of the year, and that is Micah Parsons. And I picked Pat Surtain, but Micah Parsons made a huge impact right away when he was a member of the when he was put into a situation that he had to lead the Cowboys defense.
Like I mentioned the other day, I should stop saying that. I remember after the first preseason game, I messaged Christy Wilson on her video. She makes great videos, by the way, on YouTube. Check her out on the Cowboys. And I mentioned, hey, that number 11 guy is flying around the field. He's around the ball all the time, making tackles and whatnot. I think it was in the third quarter, whenever it was. The coaches said, no, you're done because we want you to be on the field when the games really mean something. And he continued that pace. I mean, there's no wonder why Penn State is named Linebacker U. It's because they developed some great linebackers. You know, LeVar Arrington comes to mind. At any rate, you could definitely see that from preseason that Parsons was going to be awesome. And he showed that going forward. And he's going to be their key defensive player with Diggs for years to come.
Yeah, and that's what Christy Wilson just said right there. She says that Parsons winning Defensive Rookie of the Year was well-deserved. He really made an impact with the Cowboys, which I definitely agree with there. That's for sure. So, anyways, talk about offensive player of the year, and that goes to Cooper Kupp. And what is your thoughts on that? That's not a surprise there, that's for sure.
And he didn't even need the Super Bowl to show it. You know, he just did that for extra credit pretty much. That was awesome to see with Cooper Kupp. You know, all year long, he made key plays. He was awesome. And he scored many points for the Rams. He caught many third down passes for Matthew Stafford. He was just awesome. And I personally, I would have voted him for MVP of the whole damn league, honestly, and not Aaron Rodgers. But we all know that's a quarterback-driven award, which is wrong, first of all. Yep. You know, all positions matter. So I would have had him as MVP, not only Offensive Player of the Year, but MVP of the whole damn league.
Yeah, and Christy, welcome to the show here. So I want to get your thoughts on Micah Parsons winning Defensive Rookie of the Year and also Cooper Kupp winning Offensive Player of the Year and the MVP of the Super Bowl.
Well-deserved, in my opinion, for both of them. Micah Parsons made one hell of an impact on the Cowboys defense, and he just wowed me from day one, pretty much. As for Cooper Kupp, well-deserved both times, Offensive Player of the Year, Super Bowl MVP. I thought the Bengals played him really good in the beginning, but then he just let loose. They just couldn't contain him any longer. And Matthew Stafford took advantage and got him the ball in those key moments. And I think that's what won him the MVP.
That won him the MVP because, I mean, Cooper Kupp had 3 touchdown catches here, Christy, but I picked Matthew Stafford just because I felt like that he was going to pass for over 500 yards in the Super Bowl. But the Rams ran the ball a lot. I mean, they didn't run the ball that well today, if you looked at it.
Had Akers pretty much. They stopped him every chance they could. He really couldn't bust loose or anything.
And also talk about OBJ being hurt. The Rams overcame that, and they went from there.
Yep. I felt bad for him. I mean, he was going up to catch a ball, and then, you know, his knee, I think, just buckled on him or something. There was no contact or anything. And I'm like, ooh, that doesn't look good.
All right. So, anyways, what is your overall thoughts on the game, Christy?
It was a really, really good game. I mean, I was definitely did not disappoint at all. I mean, I thought it was going to be close. I thought the Bengals were going to win, but I'm not mad about the Rams winning. You know, they deserved it as well. Overall, just fantastic game. I really enjoyed it.
Well, don't be shocked if they have a chance to run it back next year, because, I mean, I think that this Rams team is still going to be pretty good heading into next season.
Probably.
So, anyways, now let's talk about Defensive Player of the Year. I'm going to start with you, Christy, on this one. what was your thoughts on TJ Watt winning it over Aaron Donald?
Well, first I was surprised it was his brother JJ giving TJ the award. I was like, wow, that's cool. But both TJ Watt and Aaron Donald were both equally deserving. I guess TJ Watt deserved it more, I guess.
I think he did, absolutely,
Yeah.
honestly. And what is your thoughts on this award, James, for TJ Watt winning Defensive Player of the Year?
I think he won the award because he had more sacks than anyone. I think that's the reason he won it. He had a record amount of sacks there
He did.
for one season.
I think he tied didn't he?
Or tied it, right? That's
yeah,
right.
he tied it.
I thought he was going to get it, actually, but I guess he didn't. I think that's the only reason he won. You know, all these years, you know, Aaron Donald, Khalil Mack, they would go back and forth and whatnot. Aaron Donald would win all the time. So I guess it's refreshing.
It is.
TJ Watt won the award, but guess what? Aaron Donald got the sack on the most important play.
Yep.
And I think TJ Watt rather have a ring than this award, to be honest with you. So it all works out for Aaron Donald.
Mm-hmm. He gets the Super Bowl ring and he gets the Voice Lombardi trophy up in the air, which is cool.
Yeah, that is definitely pretty cool here. And talk about our Comeback Player of the Year award winner. That goes to Joe Burrow. Christy, what is your thoughts on this? And Joe Burrow, this season that he had was fantastic. And despite not playing well in the fourth quarter, I have a lot of confidence in Joe Burrow heading into next season because I really think that Joe Burrow is going to take another leap in year 3.
Oh yeah, most definitely. He's gonna keep growing and he's gonna keep improving. I wasn't mad about him winning NFL Comeback Player of the Year. I would have gone with Dak Prescott because he came back from an injury that was probably way more devastating than what Joe Burrow had to come back from. He had the ankle injury and then find out he had complications and had to undergo the knife again and come back and just do as well as he did. I would have gone Dak, but Joe Burrow, he deserved it too. So I'm not
and we want to welcome to our program here, wearing his Bulldog mask because of Matthew Stafford winning the Super Bowl. And that is Isaiah Leone. And Isaiah, how's it going? And tell us your thoughts on the game and also your thoughts on Joe Burrow winning Comeback Player of the Year.
Well, first of all, I'm so glad that you guys let me join the program. I got this new mask today. It came right as I was having my Super Bowl party, so I'm glad it came. Congratulations to Georgia Bulldog Matthew Stafford.
I kind of knew there was a reason behind that.
The Super Bowl championship. It was a great game. It was back and forth. I didn't really have a horse in this race. Even though I picked the Bengals to win, I didn't really have a team that I was like, yeah, I really want that team to win. I just kind of watched this game as like a casual fan. And it was just a game that lived up to the hype. It was back and forth, two quarterbacks going back and forth, going at it. And in the end, the saying that always comes up when we talk about football, and that is defense wins championships, it came true yet again. And I know a lot of people are going to be talking about, how offense is now the thing that helps you win in the NFL. Yeah, offense does help you win in football, but you still have to play great defense in order to win a championship. And it showed tonight with the Rams defense just clamping down after a totally chaotic and unexpected start to the second half by the Bengals. The Rams defense, they clamped down. And I don't think they gave up a point after Joe Burrow and the Bengals got that field goal after the Matthew Stafford interception. So tonight, defense wins championships really rings hollow.
Yeah, you put you said it well, Isaiah, when you recap this game overall. And what is your thoughts overall on Cooper Kupp winning the NFL MVP, the Super Bowl MVP award? And also, what is your thoughts on the Bengals season overall? And I was talking about it with Christy earlier that I think that despite the loss, I have a lot of confidence in this Bengals team heading into next season.
Yeah, let's start with the Bengals. I have a lot of confidence in them moving forward. They really surprised me, and I'm gonna, apologize to the Bengals live on the air. I think during our NFL preview show that we did before the season, I picked Trevor Lawrence. I had the guts to pick Trevor Lawrence and the Jags to win the AFC South, and I said that the Bengals were only going to finish with like 2 or 3 wins, and Zach Taylor will be the first coach fired. And I even this is a bad night, like
No.
regardless of what happened this night for me, it was going to be a bad night because if the Rams had won, or if the Rams won, my Niners divisional rival won the Super Bowl. But if the Bengals win, I would have to eat a lot of crow about all my Joe Burrow takes and all my Bengals
Yeah.
takes. Because I was the one who, when we were doing our draft show, I believe 2 years ago when Joe Burrow got drafted, I said that Joe Burrow is not worth the hype and he's going to be a major bust and all of that stuff. So I gotta apologize to Joe Burrow. That guy,
Yeah.
he's a stud. He's an
I
absolute.
got one more
stud.
person you need to apologize to, Isaiah. That's Jamar Chase, because I was in the comment section during that draft show last spring, and you guys were ripping the Bengals' decision to draft Jamar Chase. And like, wait, they should draft offensive lineman. They should draft a defensive player. I was like, why did they have to draft Jamar
Christy,
Chase?
I'll tell you guys this. I was the one that lobbied for Jamar Chase to come to the Bengals. I was the one that wanted that.
Yeah.
I mean, offensive line, they wanted to address that in the second round of the draft, but in the first round of the draft, I wanted Jamar Chase to be a Bengal. I was the one that said that I wanted Jamar Chase to be a Bengal.
Yeah.
I also gotta apologize to the Bengals for that. Like at that time, like I think everybody thought that it was a stupid decision because the Bengals offensive line was trash. And they had Panay Sewell, who was at that time regarded as one of the best tackles to come out of the draft in like the last 5 years, if you read a scouting report. So that's why I thought he was going to be a great fit for Cincinnati. But it turned out they made the right decision by drafting Jamar Chase over Panay Sewell. But the Bengals, they still definitely need to address that offensive line. I mean, look at Joe Burrow. He got sacked a whole bunch of times. If he had like better protection, I honestly think the Bengals win this football game. But it was a great season for Cincinnati. It was a Cinderella-like season for the Cincinnati Bengals. Zach Taylor going from almost being fired, being on the cusp of being fired, to probably locking up a 10-year extension now and getting a statue in front of Paul Brown Stadium because he did something that Marvin Lewis didn't do in 16 years, and that is win one playoff game. So, and then, Joe Burrow doing what he did, coming back from the ACL in the way that he did, and then all the players, Chase, being that stud rookie after having not so great of a preseason. And then I think the biggest credit got to be the defense. I think myself and Loro and everybody else probably thought that the defense was going to be the key reason why Cincinnati wasn't going to win many games this year. And I'll give them credit. They bent a lot of times, but they didn't break until the very end. They broke, but it took them to the Super Bowl. So great season by the Bengals. Gotta, give a lot of credit to them. They proved a lot of people wrong, this team.
They did, Isaiah. And when you said you didn't want Jamar Chase, you didn't want the Bengals to draft Jamar Chase, it was actually me that wanted Jamar Chase to be a Bengal. And I wanted that because it would be good for Joe Burrow. The Bengals would move on from A.J. Green as that number one receiver. And I think that I felt like that getting Jamar Chase was going to be good for Joe Burrow. And maybe, who knows? Joe Burrow might even lobby the front office to trade for Justin Jefferson. What do you think about that, Isaiah?
Whoa.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think what Joe Burrow needs to lobby for is offensive line, and more offensive line help this offseason. Because that's what cost them the Super Bowl. If Joe Burrow gets even 2 or 3 more seconds of protection, the Bengals are standing here as Super Bowl champions. That was the difference in this game. It was in the second half when the reason why the Rams defense clamped down is because they started attacking that backup guard that was in the game. Because I think the Bengals had an injury early in the year, but they started attacking him, putting Von Miller on him, and then putting Aaron Donald on the other side, which freed that up. So the Bengals were confused by that, but you definitely need to address the protection. I think Joe Burrow got sacked like 7 times in this game.
Right around there.
yeah, somewhere around there, and then 13 times against Tennessee. Like, you can't, if you want your young quarterback to last, you cannot have your young quarterback taking that many sacks. And
Almost
I was
definitely.
afraid that when Burrow like went down with that knee injury, I was like, I saw the way the knee bent. I was like, oh my gosh, man,
Yeah.
you might be looking at an ACL again. But thankfully it wasn't. But you definitely got to get that offensive line fixed for sure. Make it a strength, because if you don't, Joe Burrow, even though he's great, he might not last longer with how he's getting hit.
I definitely agree with that, but I do think, however, the Bengals will address their offensive line. I'm confident that they will, and I think that they need to get a right tackle. They need to get a center. They need to get a right guard. I think the right side that's definitely needed for the Bengals this offseason. And Isaiah, I'll get back to you. I have some more questions for you on our show since you're just joining us here. James, what is your thoughts on Joe Burrow winning Comeback Player of the Year award?
See, Chrissy makes a great point, because there's more pressure on Dak Prescott to perform well because of who he plays for. No doubt about that. But I think with the success Burrow had, it made him win that award. No doubt about it. He just happened to go further than Prescott. So that's one of the reasons I think he won the award. Maybe numbers can back that up, maybe not. But both won their division, both made the playoffs. But I just think Burrow won that because he got to the Super Bowl, and it was really unsung when you think about it. If Prescott and Cowboys got to the Super Bowl, it was sort of meant to be.
Different.
It should have happened, yeah. But with Burrow and the Bengals, it was never meant to be, honestly. Everybody had them winning 6 wins and all that. So I think that's one of the reasons, and maybe the only reason, why Burrow won that award. But I'm happy for him. I know everybody felt horrible that in 2020 when he hurt himself in Washington. So you can see the reaction by even the Washington players that game, that something was horribly wrong, and just to see Burrow come back like this is amazing, and I hope he has a long future. But definitely, as everybody mentioned, the offensive line needs to be addressed a little more. Try to get some veteran help, I think, more than try to draft someone. I mean, you could draft someone for later in the rounds, but try to get a veteran to get traded there and whatnot. We'll see what happens, but I think that will help Burrow for the future.
Well, yeah, I do expect that Joe Burrow will have a long future. That's for sure. So, Isaiah, I'm going to get to you right now next, since you're just joining us here. So, what is your thoughts on Cooper Kupp winning Super Bowl MVP? And also, what is your reaction to the Saints hiring Dennis Allen as their next head coach? And what about the Houston Texans hiring Lovie Smith as their next head coach?
All right, so about Cooper Kupp, I was actually kind of shocked because I didn't think that they were going to give it to a wide receiver. I thought that they were going to give it to Matthew Stafford, just by the way that he played all game long, and also with the way that he executed that game-winning drive down the field. And I know he hit Kupp basically every play of that drive, but they typically give it to a quarterback over a wide receiver. I thought they were both super deserving of it, but I just thought that if you're going to give it to an offensive player, I thought that they would give it to Matthew Stafford. But having said that, I don't think that if you're going to give the MVP award, I don't think it should have been Cooper Kupp or Stafford, even though they had tremendous games. I thought it should have been Aaron Donald. I mean, with the way that he was dominating in that second half, Joe Burrow and the Bengals, I believe they had like 5 drives in that second half after they scored the field goal and took a 20-13 lead with about 4 minutes left. They had like 4 or 5 drives, and they went, they had like 3 and outs, and also they had one drive where they got about 20-25 yards, but then Aaron Donald with that huge stop. And then in the end, it was the last drive, which was the Bengals. They get 25 yards on their first play from scrimmage. And then, it's 2nd and 1, just like how my 49ers had in that NFC Championship game. 2nd and 1. I don't know what Zach Taylor was thinking throwing a shot on 2nd and 1. It makes no sense. I think what you should have done is try to go under center, run the football. And then 3rd and 1, that was another one where I was like, bro, you got to go under center. I know they ran the football, but I believe they ran it from the gun. I might not be correct on that, but I don't understand those 3 plays where you're at you're 1 yard away from getting the first down and move the chains. You go, deep shot, then you go run the football, and then you go throw the football on 4th and 1. I thought what they should have done is put Joe Mixon in the backfield, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, in under center Joe Burrow, and pound the rock with Joe Mixon, because I definitely think that Mixon would have gotten at least 1 yard in those 2 tries. But Donald, obviously, with that amazing stop on 3rd down and then 4th down, getting after Burrow, forces Burrow to throw like a backwards, just Hail Mary type of a deal, and it's incomplete, and the Rams are Super Bowl champs. So I thought that it should have been Donald, just because he was dominating the final 4 to 5 drives when they really needed him to.
Yeah, and then also, what is your thoughts on Dennis Allen being the next head coach of the New Orleans Saints, and what does it mean for the Saints moving forward?
I'm glad that he's getting another shot, because I thought that when the Raiders fired him, I thought that, they should have given him a little bit more time, because he was dealing with a rookie quarterback. And when you're having a rookie quarterback, it takes some time to get things going. So I thought they should have given him more time. But in terms of him being with the Saints now, I'm glad that he's getting another shot. But I thought what they should have done is hire from outside the organization. I thought they should have hired Eric Bieniemy, because I think, Sean Payton, he was there for 16 years. It's just the same voice and the same philosophies all the time, and it kind of gets stale. And I think that's kind of what happened to the New Orleans Saints, is that it was time for a fresh start. It was time for some change in that organization. And I hope Dennis Allen does well in New Orleans, but with, the Saints having needed to develop a rookie quarterback or a young quarterback coming up, and their offense, undergoing a lot of transition, I think it should have been Bieniemy, because I think Bieniemy would be well equipped to deal with developing a rookie quarterback.
Oh, you're right. I mean, that definitely could happen here, but I think Dennis Allen will definitely have a chance to develop a rookie quarterback too if the Saints draft him, which I think I would expect, that's for sure. But what is your reaction to Lovie Smith being the next head coach of the Houston Texans? Isaiah, you might agree with me on this. He's going to bring stability to the Houston Texans, even though this team's not going to be any good next year.
My thoughts on Lovie Smith getting hired by the Texans is that I'm happy for Lovie Smith, because he deserves to be a head coach again. But I worry that it's an outdated move by the Texans, because Lovie Smith, we saw what he did at Illinois, and I'm not going to blame him for the whole Illinois debacle, just because, it's college football. NFL head coaches going to college football typically never works out. Look at Charlie Wise with Kansas. He was walking into a situation where it was a lose-lose situation, and he was just terrible at Kansas. And when I look at Lovie Smith, my biggest fear is that the systems that he runs now is going to be outdated. I don't know what kind of offense he's going to bring in, what kind of he's going to run the same defense, but the NFL has undergone a lot of changes, recently in the last couple of years, with more modern spread offenses and stuff like that. Will Lovie Smith and his defense be able to adjust? That's, I think, my main question. And let's face it, guys, I don't think that the Texans really wanted Lovie Smith. I think that Jack Easterby and Nick Caserio, they wanted Josh McCown. That was the one guy they wanted to hire. But after the Brian Flores lawsuit came out, they knew that there would be massive backlash if they hired Josh McCown, a guy that has no coaching experience of any kind, not even a coordinator, quarterbacks coach, position coach, offensive analyst, nothing. And he gets just plucked off the street and becomes a head coach while all these other candidates are waiting. So I thought that their original plan was to hire McCown, but once the Flores lawsuit came out, they were like, yeah, we can't do this, or else it would be a really, really bad look.
Absolutely. And then Brandon Herrera has a question for you and I, since you just came onto the show here, Isaiah. So Brandon, Big B, wants to know this. Loro and Isaiah, $100 bet on Jags now winning the AFC South. You guys were talking about it. And Isaiah, you and I have talked about how good this Jaguars team's going to be next year with Doug Peterson. I didn't even predict the Jaguars winning the AFC South this past season because of Urban Meyer and that I needed to see him transition into the NFL. This was a really, really hard task for him. But now that the Jags have a proven head coach that has had experience in the National Football League, that has guided them to a playoffs, Super Bowl, Doug Peterson is the right fit for Jacksonville. I'm confident that he is going to be really good down there. I'm looking forward to seeing him work with Trevor Lawrence. But do you take that bet there, Isaiah?
Don't do that.
No. Please.
Ask me closer to the season. Ask me closer to
Okay.
the season. Because, I mean, this season just finished. I want to see what Jacksonville does in the draft. I want to see what they do in free agency. Because let's say Jacksonville goes out, and because of the presence of Trent Baalke, that nobody wants to come to Jacksonville, and they're left with the same team from this past season, or even worse, because they have more players are probably going to leave, then, you know, even though I like Doug Peterson, even though I like Trevor Lawrence, it's like no protection, wide receiving weapons suck. They don't have a defense, no pass rushers whatsoever. I'm going to be hitching my wagon pretty much to a team that can't do anything right except maybe the quarterback. That's it. And the head coach. So ask me after all the moves are made in free agency. But if the Jaguars front office, if they can address the offensive line, if they can get some pass rushers, if they can get couple wide receivers into that program, and Trent Baalke can stay the hell away from the field, because I don't even know why he wants to be hands-on the field. It still makes me laugh my head off to this day. But if they can, I think Jacksonville could be the Bengals from this year. Maybe not get to the Super Bowl, but they could be that surprise team, because you guys know that every year in the NFL, there's this one or two teams that always comes up and shocks everybody.
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And now we'll talk about what is your reactions to Jamar Chase, Micah Parsons winning Rookies of the Year on both offense and defense, Cooper Kupp winning Offensive Player of the Year, and TJ Watt winning Defensive Player of the Year.
Wow. My thoughts on it is Chase was well-deserved because he was probably the best rookie offensive player. Parsons was the best rookie defensive player. So it was a no-brainer that those guys got it. Watt, I don't know. I would have honestly given it to Aaron Donald, to be honest. Or what, Laurel, was this for both the AFC and the NFC, or was Watt?
It was for NFL honors.
The whole league.
I don't know if I would have given it to Watt. I would have given it probably to Donald. You could
Trayvon
put
Diggs.
You could put other there's a lot of great pass rushers and great defensive players in the NFL, but
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised that Watt got it. I'll say that.
Yeah.
And what about Comeback Player of the Year for Joe Burrow?
Oh, he deserved it. And I know James was saying earlier about why he got it over Dak was because he went to the Super Bowl. I think it was because that the Cowboys didn't surprise everybody as the Bengals. I mean, the Cowboys with a healthy Dak Prescott, I thought that, they were going to win the division and they were going to definitely make the playoffs because they had a really talented team. But I think that with the Bengals, nobody even expected them to win 5 or 6 games, much less get to the playoffs and win their division. So that's why I think he got it, was just because the Bengals were the bigger surprise than the Dallas Cowboys.
All right. Anyways, with that being said here, let's talk about our reaction to the Walter Payton Man of the Year award winner, and that goes to the LA Rams, Andrew Whitworth. And what is your thoughts on this, Isaiah, for Andrew Whitworth?
I think this award has something to do with the community, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Yes, it is.
yeah, I think Whitworth deserved it just because he does a lot of great work for the community. I mean, you see it all the time on social media. So, I think he definitely deserves it for sure.
He definitely does deserve that for sure. And what about you, James? What is your thoughts on Andrew Whitworth winning the Walter Payton Man of the Year award?
He gave a great speech on that NFL honors. I would like to tell people to go watch that if they need a little guidance or need a little push in the right direction. He's never been in trouble on and off the field. Always a great player and a great person. He helped Derek Barnes get into the NFL, by the way, and he talked about that during the speech. And Derek Barnes now is going to be a second-year player with the Lions. And the story with Joe Burrow when he was injured and Burrow came out, to do his rehab and whatnot in L.A., Joe wasn't really talking to many people, but he reached out to Andrew Whitworth, or somehow they got together, and those two were hanging out while Burrow was trying to get back and feeling lonely. And I think that was just another prime example of why he won this award. And by the way, this award named after probably my favorite player of all time, and he always showed heart. Yeah, he always did everything for everyone else. It was never about just him. And this award definitely reflects that in Andrew Whitworth.
And what about you, Christy? What is your overall thoughts on Andrew Whitworth winning the Walter Payton Man of the Year award?
Very well deserved. Very, very well deserved. He does so much, and he just seems like a good guy. Like James said, he made it a point to talk to Joe Burrow when Burrow was out in Los Angeles rehabbing from his injury, and they ended up becoming friends, and that's really cool. And what he does
that
for the
was
cool as
really
well.
cool.
Yeah, it is.
And anyways, folks, now we'll talk about our reaction for the NFL MVP award. That goes to Aaron Rodgers. That's his fourth MVP in his career. And from what I heard today from Ian Rappaport, that the Green Bay Packers have really improved their relationship with Aaron Rodgers and that they're planning to give him another massive extension here. But they're going to have to find a way to – I think that the front office is going to have to be creative on that because Green Bay has a lot of cap issues. And I think that they're going to find a way to get this done. And Isaiah, what is your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers being a four-time NFL MVP?
I know Green Bay was the number 1 seed, so I think that's why they gave it to him, just because he had the better record.
Yep.
But I don't think he deserved it, honestly. I don't think he should have gotten it. I think that the person that should have gotten it was honestly Cooper Kupp. I would have gone with Cooper Kupp, the wide receiver, because he was a Triple Crown winner. I think he led the league in touchdowns, led the league in yards. I think receptions was also a part of it. He did something that hadn't been done for a long time. So I thought he should have gotten it, not Aaron Rodgers. But, obviously they're going to give it to a quarterback. They're not picking a wide receiver to be MVP because it's not the sexy choice. So that's why they didn't give it to Kupp. But I want to go back, Loro, to the comeback player of the year. I got some gripes with the NFL. Nick Bosa got 0 votes for comeback player of the year. I'm not saying you should give him the comeback player of the year because Joe Burrow definitely deserved it.
Oh my God.
How does a guy that tears his ACL and comes back, gets 15 sacks, how does he not get any vote? It makes no sense whatsoever.
Because he's not a quarterback, that's why.
Yeah, he's not a quarterback, and his injury was not as bad as Dak Prescott's was, in my opinion.
The disrespect towards defensive linemen is just so egregious. But not getting 1 vote is utterly ridiculous. It's not 1 vote. Like you could have given him I'm not saying he wins the award, but Come on, people. At least give him some vote.
Oh Lord.
And what about you, Christy? What is your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers being the MVP of the National Football League for a fourth time in his career?
There you go. Thumbs down. I'm with James. It should have gone to Cooper Cup. I mean,
I should have gone to my man Tom Brady. I like Aaron Rodgers, though. I mean, I've always been a big fan of Aaron Rodgers. He's a phenomenal quarterback, but
yeah,
it wasn't his year to get it again.
no, it wasn't. I want to say Cooper Cup because he had been doing unbelievably well the entire season, even after Robert Woods went down. Cooper Cup stepped up, and he deserved it. He really did. But I have to give it to the quarterback because it's the sexy choice.
And what about you, James? What is your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers winning the MVP award for a fourth time in his career?
I really wish that these awards were given out at the end of the season, at the end of the playoffs, at the end of the Super Bowl. Have a real, like the Pro Bowl was, at the end of the season. I really like that. I wish that was the case, but it makes more sense to have it, in between the Super Bowl. But I really think all these awards and all these sports should go after the season because you saw Cooper Kupp. Without him, the Rams are basically the Seahawks when you think about it, other from having a defense. So I'm trying to think of another example, maybe like the Steelers when you think about it. Where you have a quarterback, you have a great defense, but you don't have that one big weapon that'll give you great third down conversions. And Cooper Kupp did that. So I was hemorrhaging for it, late in this season saying, Cooper Kupp should get more respect and more votes in this MVP race, but that's out of our hands, of course.
Yep.
And again, cool, Rodgers got the award, but in the end, just like Donald, Cooper Kupp got the ring. So they're even at one ring, I guess, if you want to talk championship rings.
Absolutely here. But anyways, let's talk about Coach of the Year. That goes to Mike Vrabel of the Tennessee Titans. What is your thoughts on this, Isaiah? Even though the Titans got the 1 seed, and Mike Vrabel has done a really good job with the Tennessee Titans. And I think that Tennessee will still be a good team heading into next season, but I feel like that Jacksonville might be ahead of them next season.
I thought that the NFL made the wrong choice by giving it to Vrabel. And here's why. Because I thought that Zach Taylor should have gotten it. Because Zach Taylor was on the cusp of being fired. He was a guy that, if you look at the projections before the season, many people predicted that the Bengals would only win like 3, 4, 5 games at the most. And he not only surpasses that, but he doubles that. And he leads them to winning the division with Joe Burrow and a team that the defense not that good, offensive line is not really that great. I know they have the great wide receivers, but still, it was a great job what Zach Taylor did for the Cincinnati Bengals. And for Vrabel, I'm not saying the Titans were expected to be the number 1 seed, but they were expected to be in that mix, definitely for a top seed in the AFC. I think a lot of people had them as a lock to win the AFC South. So besides me, obviously, because I picked Jacksonville. But I thought that Zach Taylor, what he did was more impressive than what Vrabel did in Tennessee.
And what about you, James? What is your thoughts on Mike Vrabel winning Coach of the Year?
I agree. I said that the other night. I thought Zach Taylor should have won it. Usually these Manager of the Years in baseball, Coach of the Year in NBA, probably the same thing in hockey, where they give it to the coach with the better story, with more of the underdog, the team, the coach that people didn't think would overachieve and get to the playoffs or get to a certain point like they just did. This is another prime example of why I think awards should be given out after the season. Now, I don't think you give it to Sean McVay because he has all that talent around. When you think about Zach Taylor worked with less. So or unproven, let's just say. So I would have gave that to Zach Taylor, honestly. The way that the Titans went out, against the Bengals, having the first seed. I know Henry got hurt, but still, when you're the first seed, there's high expectations. You're hosting home field. You have to win, and they didn't. So I would have gone with Zach Taylor, getting all those wins on the road in the playoffs, coming up just short in the Super Bowl, more than Mike Vrabel did. But no doubt Mike Vrabel, he's building something there in Tennessee. I just hope he's there long enough to see it go through, and hopefully they improve even more.
All right. Anyways, Christy, what is your thoughts on Mike Vrabel winning the the Coach of the Year award?
Should have gone to Zach Taylor. He worked with Les, and they made it. And the Titans barely made it without Derrick Henry, but the NFL picks who they want to win these sort of things.
All right. Anyways, with that being said, here let's talk about our reaction to the 2022 Pro Football Hall of Fame class. It features Richard Seymour, Dick Vermeil, Tony Boselli, Leroy Butler, Cliff Branch, Bryant Young, Art McNally, and Sam Ellis. Isaiah, you have a 49er that's going to the Hall of Fame this year. But what is your thoughts on the 2022 class?
Dick Vermeil wasn't a Hall of Famer before this year?
No. This is his. He got
First
in
time.
as a contributor on the contributor category with Art McNally.
Wow, I'm actually surprised because I thought he would have gotten in earlier. But it's great that he's getting in. It's about time that he gets in. He was an innovative coach, one of the best coaches in the NFL. So it's about time that he gets in. As far as the other guys are concerned, Seymour, I didn't really have a chance to watch him when he was in his prime, because when I started watching football, it was like 08 or 09, or it was like 09, and he was like on the downside of his career. So that's why when I heard that he was actually really good, once I started following football and I heard he was really good, I was actually kind of shocked, because I thought that he was a scrub from having played with James's Raiders. And
I remember that.
Yeah, you remember that.
He was a beast in his prime. I remember him. He was really good.
Yeah, he was great with the Patriots. That's what I think a lot of people remember him as.
Oh, yeah.
As a Raider, he wasn't really that good.
That's their prime, like all the free agents the Raiders got during those years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was bad. But the other guys, I'll talk about the ones that I know. Bryant Young, I'm happy that he got in, because, he was a guy that, was wreaked havoc on the defensive side of the ball, on the defensive line for the Niners. He was definitely a game changer player, so he definitely deserved it. And then I think I would say Devin Hester getting in. I'm kind of iffy on that, to be honest with you, because I think that for Devin Hester, he was a game-changing player, and he was a phenomenal return man. But here's the thing: when you're only known for special teams, it's not weighed that heavily in the NFL. I feel like to get into the Hall of Fame, I feel like they prioritize offense, defense, and then coaches, and then special teams. I feel like they don't really give special teams a lot of consideration if you're just great at special teams. If Devin Hester was tremendous on offense, if he was, a great playmaker on offense as well, in addition to special teams, then I think that he would have definitely been a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. But the fact that he only did it on special teams is the reason why I think he didn't get in as a first ballot. But there's no way he's going to not get in as a second ballot Hall of Famer.
And what are your thoughts on this Hall of Fame class, Christy?
It's not a bad Hall of Fame class. There are some people that I think are missing. As for, you'll probably mention those who probably got snubbed a little later, but Dick Vermeil, I thought he would have gotten in as like coach of the Rams, because he took a chance on Kurt Warner, and it ended up
Mhm.
paying off big time. And he was a really, really good coach. So I'm happy he got in. Richard Seymour, I'm glad he got in. Devin Hester, I like the fact that he got in, but you know, I'm except for those, I'm a bit iffy about it.
And what about you, James?
This Devin Hester situation, it kind of reminds me of Edgar Martinez in baseball for Seattle Mariners, right? He was only really a designated hitter, but he got in after a while. So hopefully Hester goes that route and gets in. I'm really happy for Tony Baselli. He was offensive tackle for the Jaguars from their start in 1995. He was there when they went to 2 AFC championship games. He was their best offensive lineman, of course. He was there from the start of that franchise and had his number retired, of course, with him. Cliff Branch, I'm really happy about. It's just unfortunate that he passed away last year or 2 years ago, I believe. And he deserved to get in for a long time. I mean, he won 3 Super Bowls. He was their best deep threat. And he was always confident. I remember a quick story with I forget who. I think Tom Flores was the coach at the time, or maybe it was John Madden. But they were lining up for the national anthem. And Cliff Branch is next to, I think it was John Madden. He says, Coach, I think I could beat my man deep. And Madden's like, what do you mean? I think I could beat my man deep, so go to me. And they're just standing in the national anthem. So he's very confident. The stats showed it. He won all those rings. Leroy Butler getting in. I thought that was going to be another year, honestly, for him. But he was the inventor of the Lambeau Leap, by the way. In I think it was 1994 against the LA Raiders in Lambeau. He intercepted a pass from Vance Evans, took it to the house, and then he leaped in there. So he started a whole revolution, let's just say.
Yeah. I usually associate Robert Brooks with the Lambeau Leap because he did it so frequently.
Right.
That's why I didn't know it was Leroy Butler.
And then Sam Mills, God rest his soul, he gets in. Unfortunately, again, he's passed away, but he was that first leader for that New Orleans team that finally made the playoffs for the first time in franchise history. He was just awesome. Richard Seymour, definitely one of the best defensive players, defensive lineman ever. Again, when the Raiders got him, he wasn't as good. He's known for one moment with the Raiders where after Ben Roethlisberger threw for a touchdown, I don't know if Ben said something to him, but Richard Seymour straight gives him a hand to the face and Ben goes down. That was the only signature moment that I remember with Richard Seymour. And then last, I'll say with Dick Vermeil. We know his story with the UCLA Bruins winning a national championship in the 70s. That led the Eagles to get him. Remember, the Eagles were horrible. If you're not a fan of football, you could at least watch Invincible with Mark Wahlberg, and you'll see the whole story. Greg Kinnear did him in the movie there and did a great job. He led him to the promised land, to the Super Bowl, to lose against the Raiders, of course, in 81. But then he got burnt out. Then he came back with the new St. Louis Rams, or second-year St. Louis Rams. It took a while, but again, he, like Chrissy said, took a chance at Kurt Warner. I can remember the press conference after the preseason game with the St. Louis Rams and the San Diego Chargers. When Trent Green got hurt, there was a presser after. And I remember this vividly. He cared about his players. He cried a lot just out of emotion, just out of pure heart and wanting to succeed for everyone. But he said, we will rally around Kurt Warner and we will win games. And they went on to win the whole thing, just like the Rams did tonight. So Dick Vermeil is definitely an inspirational person. And if you see his football life ever, you really should. So that's what I think about the Hall of Fame class.
And we want to welcome Ben to the show here. And Ben, what is your thoughts on the game overall first? And also thoughts on the 2022 Hall of Fame class, which features an all-time favorite Patriot of ours, and Richard Seymour getting in.
Yeah, well, I'd like to thank you guys for having me on, like always. It's been a great weekend talking the Super Bowl and everything with you guys. And yeah, I think just overall this game just felt like it had a lot, just craziness, I guess you can say. A lot of unfortunate possible injuries that could have happened between the two quarterbacks, but they were safe enough. Like to send my regards to Odell Beckham, because obviously he was playing great with the Rams for a lot of this postseason. Really, the Rams are having a hard time trying to find that true number 2 outside of Kupp at receiver. And I didn't really know a lot about Odell Beckham in terms of coming in and just making a huge immediate impact, but he did a great job. And, he had obviously that first touchdown for the Rams, and he had another big-time running catch, I believe, the series after. So when he went kind of out, it was, I believe, 14-3. And, things kind of turned the tide a little bit. You just felt like after the Rams offense couldn't really get themselves going. I give a lot of credit to the Bengals defense. Their defensive running defense was a lot better than I anticipated. And, I thought that if the Bengals won the Super Bowl, it would have been one reason why they would have won, because their running attack for the Rams has usually been pretty good. And, Cam Akers didn't do a whole lot. Sonny Michel didn't do a whole lot. Darrell Henderson didn't do a whole lot. So it really had to come down to Matthew Stafford and his playmaking ability. And when Odell went hurt, it really kind of got untested in the second half in terms of if he can make, any type of long scoring drive. And, they won a ton of, Bengals included as well. A lot of punts, in this game. It felt like, the Bengals themselves had the game a little bit for the taking. I think that the big play was the Tyler Boyd drop. But I do believe that the Bengals are up by the time I leave in the fourth quarter. Even if he caught that, it could have been short for first down, but that was a huge, crazy turning point. And then the Rams, obviously, with Cooper Kupp. I mean, Cooper Kupp's making crazy, legendary plays that he's been all year. And he showed why that final Rams drive, why he's arguably the best receiver so far this football, and I believe he was the offensive player of the year for a reason. So, congrats the Rams to Casey Kings if Casey is joining. His team totally deserved it. You know who I was playing for. Obviously, I was wearing the Super Bowl fleece jacket. Actually, my dad gave me from a couple of years ago. He didn't go to the Super Bowl, but he got it from somebody. So I was playing for the Bengals, but I didn't really care who won. I was really happy for either way who won. The Aaron Donald situation, I read that from Rodney Harrison. For you guys that didn't know, if Aaron Donald won this Super Bowl, that he might talk about retiring. And I thought that would be really interesting because he's played, I believe, for 8 seasons. And he's really essentially had a lot of accolades, but obviously besides that ring. And, now obviously you could see the tears after winning in terms of how much that meant to him. And I do remember obviously beating him with the Patriots in terms of like, wow, like I could see this guy at least winning the ring down their road because he's just that good dominant. And I talked about in terms of the impact player, Lauro and James and Isaiah and Chrissy from last night in terms of who could be the impact player. And Laura asked me Joe Burrow or Aaron Donald. I thought to myself, I thought it was going to be Aaron Donald just because I knew that at one point in this game, it was going to be a close game, needing a big time play. And on that fourth down, right at the end, when the Bengals still had a chance, I was a little bit worried about, how the Bengals are kind of rolling. It was a 3rd and 1 or whatever. I mean, you got to run the football a bit more there. And I think they got a little bit too cute on that final play calling there. But the Rams are obviously up for the challenge. And I got to say, the Bengals obviously had a great run. They have a great future ahead. Burrow obviously is their quarterback. I think they got to really just get the offensive line intact. I mean, to be fair, the Rams defensive front is a menace. I mean, when healthy, and they show why tonight. And, they obviously made a little more plays than Cincy did, but, Cincy can't, hang their head. They played a pretty good game. They kept it close. But like I said, congrats to Casey's team. They are the champs. I believe it's on their 2nd Super Bowl. And I just wanted a close one. And I predicted 27-20 Cincy. So, I mean, it was 23-20. I said it was going to be a lower scoring game. And I was pretty close. But, it was that score from 23-20. And that's how it went. So, kind of really. What's that?
What is your thoughts on Cooper Kupp winning the MVP award for the Super Bowl?
I mean, hey, it's Cooper Kupp. I mean, he's been doing this for like all year, coming with big time plays, converting 3rd down possessions. Obviously, that 4th down reverse play was huge when they really needed it at the time. I thought maybe that they would have punted and maybe try to pin Cincy back and, try to at least have short field position, because I really didn't think that offensive line for Cincy was playing that great kind of at the end of the game. I thought that, the Rams were just kind of going all out, doing a lot of stunts and stuff. And really the Bengals had no answers, I think, at the time. But they went for it. I mean, they got really ballsy, and it paid off. You put it into your best player's hands, and those things happen. And lower, I think Cooper Kupp definitely showed why he's, he definitely is taking that next step. I knew that he was going to be a very good receiver, but he's really coming into his own. And, he's obviously kind of getting up to that elite class with the receivers that we've kind of seen in the NFL here. So, it was obviously really great showing from him. And, obviously the Rams are going to be in cap hell, I think, for a couple of years from now. So I knew that they were going to need to get a ring here and there. And, Isaiah was talking about Sean McVay, obviously, making some right calls down the road in this game, like a couple of years ago when he didn't, and he did tonight. I thought he got really conservative running a lot tonight. I thought a lot of the early downs he was running and running and running. And I thought to myself, get into your best playmaker's hands. You need to have it with the money line, with time on the clock at the end. And Cooper Kupp obviously came through like he's always been doing all year.
All right. Anyway, so what's your thoughts now on the Hall of Fame class here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as a Pats fan, Richard Seymour was the guy I wanted to make it. And, Tom Brady obviously was having a tweet from a couple months ago saying that Richard Seymour should definitely deserve to be in. He was basically a key cornerstone of this dynasty that we had. In terms of just, just a contributor on defense, defensive line, and not only what he did on the field, but, a lot of the Patriots have had in terms of players are great guys off the field. And Richard was obviously one of those guys. He doesn't get a lot of love compared to a lot of other legends that we've had, but, obviously he played for James's Raiders for a little bit of time, so he's been kind of around in different teams, but obviously I'll remember him, most of the time from New England. And, in terms of the other guys, I don't really know a whole lot of that draft class. I'll probably have to look more into this off season just because my mind was on the Super Bowl for a lot of this week. But, I think that this is obviously, a lot of guys that, deserve to be in it. And, obviously there's a lot to next year in terms of some guys to look out for too. So, obviously, it's very exciting for guys that haven't been in it before, and just getting themselves ready to Canton is obviously a very incredible accomplishment that obviously nobody can take away from you.
Absolutely. And then, Christy, I'm going to go to you on this one. Do you have any final reaction on the Hall of Fame class?
I mean, I'm just glad certain people got in, and I'm a little upset that certain people did not, but it is what it is.
All right. Anyways, folks, with that being said here now, let's talk about which grades will you give those teams that hired new head coaches. Ben, I'll start with you first. What about the Chicago Bears with Matt Eberflus?
I'm going to give them like a low B, probably high C. I was not really a huge fan of the hire. I thought they could have maybe went with a guy like Flores. I mean, obviously now with his situation, it might be a little more different, but they obviously went offensive minded, and I don't know, because the Colts offensive line's a lot of running ability, and the offensive line for the Bears isn't very good. They're probably gonna have to go strong draft, but Eberflus is obviously a run first playmaker, and I just don't know if the fit's gonna be there.
And what about you, Isaiah? What is your grade for the Bears hiring Matt Eberflus?
I'll probably give him a C, to be honest, because I wish they would have went offense than go defense. I think you have a young quarterback. The league is shifting towards young quarterbacks working with young offensive minded coaches, and I think that's what the Bears needed. I think they needed a guy that would come in and develop Justin Fields, because Matt Nagy and his offensive staff did a piss poor job of developing Justin Fields. And if you had an offensive minded head coach, the problem with defensive minded head coaches is they're great on the defensive side of the ball, but if you have a young quarterback and let's say you have success, your first couple of seasons, your offensive coordinators are going to get poached left and right, and soon you're going to see that Justin Fields, if he has success, the Bears are going to probably have like 3 offensive coordinators in like 4 seasons. So you need that stability. So I would rather have an offensive-minded coach for the Bears. I personally was thinking about Bieniemy once Ryan Poles got hired because of the Chiefs' connections and how I thought he was going to be a great fit for the Chicago Bears. But the Bears decided to go defense. I guess their only offensive-minded coaches that they've had recently is Mark Trestman. That did not work out so well, and Matt Nagy, and that did not work out well either. So I guess they're going. They're trying to go back to the roots and going defense. So we'll see how it works out. But me personally, I would rather have had the Bears going offense than defense. So I'll give it like a C+.
And what about you, James? What is your grade on the Bears hiring Matt Eberflus? James, we
I
can't
think
hear
you're on
you.
mute, James.
Duh. Okay, I concur with both Ben and Isaiah. I think it's a solid hire, but that helps just the defense. I wonder who's going to work with Justin Fields, and who's going to make him better, and what talent they put around him. This could all be destined to fail if they don't have the right talent. So for now, I'll just say C+.
And what about you, Christy? What is your reaction? What is your grade for? What is your grade for the Bears hiring Matt Eberflus?
Probably go with the C because they need a more offensive-minded coach, not a defensive-minded coach. Because you got a great talent in Justin Fields, and you need to help him develop. And this guy might not be it. So I give him a C.
I'm going to give it a C too, just because I think that I got to just see how it goes. But I think that Matt Eberflus is a great coach, but he's a really good defensive mind that's going to help the Bears in that area. But I do think that the offensive side of the ball, he's going to let Luke Getsy call the plays, and I think he's going to help Justin Fields out immensely. That's kind of my opinion there. Let's go to the Houston Texans and talk about Lovie Smith. And Ben, I'll start with you on this one. What grade would you give the Texans hiring Lovie Smith? And what was your overall reaction to the Texans hiring Lovie Smith?
Texans obviously have a long road ahead of them. But I do think for Lovie Smith, it's an interesting fit for him. And we'll see in terms of how it goes.
And what grade would you give Lovie Smith, the Texans hiring Lovie Smith?
Probably C, probably a B or whatever. Not a bad move for them, but hopefully things go well.
I'd give it a C. I mean, I just think that the Texans are just nowhere where they want to be, and I think that Lovie Smith gives them the stability that they need here. And anyways, let's go to Isaiah here. What grade would you give Lovie Smith and the Texans for this hire?
Let me say this. My grade that I am about to give the hire of Lovie Smith has nothing to do with Lovie Smith. It just has to do with the Texans organization, and that is a D, because I thought that the Texans made this move as like a last-ditch attempt, because I think what happened here is you saw a failed coaching search. You saw a search where they wanted someone else, but they wanted two. I feel like they wanted 2 other people. I thought it was Brian Flores or it was Josh McCown. And then when Brian Flores' lawsuit came out, it messed everything up, because I really believe that if Brian Flores does not file that lawsuit, he was going to be the guy because of all the Patriots connections with Nick Caserio and Jack Easterby and everybody else in that organization. And he would have been a great hire. He would have been a grand slam hire for the Houston Texans. And then I think they also wanted Josh McCown, because Jack Easterby and Nick Caserio share an agent with Josh McCown. And there's no way that in back-to-back years that Josh McCown has gotten a combined 3 interviews from just the Texans in 2 years. There's no way that he's not a serious candidate if you're giving him 3 interviews in 2 years. It makes no sense. So And obviously, once the Flores lawsuit came out, that just wiped away that whole McCown plan, because if you hire him, then everybody's gonna be like, oh yeah, there's discrimination right there, because he has never been a head coach, never been a coordinator, never even been a position coach, and he becomes the head coach of the Texans. So I thought that the Texans wanted someone else, but they couldn't hire that person because of the Flores lawsuit. So that's why they just said, what the heck? We're just going to hire Lovie Smith, we'll promote him from the staff, and he'll give us some stability, and we'll hire the guy that we truly want in a couple of years. So I have a bad feeling that this is setting up to be another David Culley move because of that incompetent management by the Texans. So for me, I'll give it like a D.
What about you, James? What is your grade for the Texans hiring Lovie Smith?
I just think it's a safe hire. They couldn't get any better. They could always get worse, but I think to keep it in-house, he knows the players. So I'd probably give it just a C for now, and we'll see what happens. But it's just a C for now.
And what about you, Christy? What is your grade on the Texans hiring Lovie Smith?
I'm gonna go with the C. I think they just settled for him because he's right there. Promote him from within, and there you go. It's just a safe pick.
It's definitely a safe pick there. You're totally right about that. Now let's talk about the Denver Broncos now, as they hired Nathaniel Hackett. I would give this a B- here, just because he's coming into a rebuild situation. I don't think the Denver Broncos are in a win now mode here, but Nathaniel Hackett will really help the Denver Broncos become a complete team offensively. And even though that there are rumors about Aaron Rodgers coming to Denver because of Hackett, that's not happening. I think that Nathaniel Hackett is going to want his own quarterback, and I have a gut feeling that he will get his own quarterback in the draft. And I think he has his eyes on Matt Corral, who I think will thrive in Nathaniel Hackett's system. And I think that Nathaniel Hackett will be a solid head coach, but I do think it's going to take time for the Denver Broncos to get to where they want to be. They are not in a win now mode because they are in a, they are in a ownership transition. So basically, the Broncos are not in a win now mode scenario right now. Isaiah, what grade would you give the Denver Broncos hiring Nathaniel Hackett?
I'll probably give them like a B-. I think they definitely should have gone offense, but me personally, I would have gone Kellen Moore, because I think Kellen Moore is a young offensive-minded coach. He has like a history of when he's calling plays. The offense has been really, really good. And when Nathaniel Hackett, here's the thing about Nathaniel Hackett that a lot of people don't know about, and that is he doesn't call the plays in Green Bay. He's involved in the offensive game planning and decision making and all that stuff. But the last time he was an offensive coordinator and he called the plays, it was in Jacksonville, and I believe the Jaguars were like in the bottom of offense in the NFL. And also he was the Bills OC, and they weren't really that good as well. Like, they had a really good rushing attack, but the passing attack was absolutely putrid. So I think for Hackett, I think there's two reasons why Denver hired him. I think they hired him because it's kind of like what the Wizards did with Scott Brooks. Why they hired Scott Brooks is to try to entice Kevin Durant to come to Washington. Obviously, that failed. I think Denver hired him in part because they think that with Hackett's relationship with Rodgers, it will help them out. But I just don't know. Like, you can look really good if you have Aaron Rodgers and you have, all the players that Green Bay's players have, and Matt LaFleur calling the plays, calling the plays, and you're not doing it. So I don't know about this hire. For me, I will give it like a B-, just because I'm happy that Denver finally went offense, but I would have rather gotten Mike McDaniel, who was Denver's former ball boy, or gotten Kellen Moore from the Cowboys.
All right. Anyways, I'll go to Ben on this one. What is your grade on the Denver Broncos hiring Nathaniel Hackett?
I like it. I'm gonna give it like a B+, A-. I thought that this was a very good transition for a guy like this. I also think that it helps the enticement of a potential Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes, because obviously it just seems like that's the only team if he goes anywhere. Because essentially Denver's in a spot where they have a ton of talent, but they have no quarterback. They don't have the quarterback essentially where he can match up in that division with all the other superior quarterbacks to compete. And I think that if, Rodgers somehow went to Denver, I mean, you're talking about having Rodgers face Mahomes and Herbert twice a year. And obviously, oh, sorry, James, if that had to happen
Derek
for
Carr.
your division as
I
well.
don't need that in my life.
but to shed some light on it, I'm probably gonna agree with Laura in terms of Rodgers is probably gonna stay. Laura, you do it again to me. It seems like Rodgers is probably gonna stick around in Green Bay. It just seems like he might have one more rodeo with it. Do I think he could leave? Possibly. There's obviously a chance, but I do really like this hire because I do think that if he went somewhere else, I mean, Rodgers really can go anywhere if he really wanted to go anywhere. But I mean, I think Rodgers in Denver is really a match made in heaven because Denver usually, obviously with Peyton Manning, they had a great defense, and you saw how far that they can get in terms of their playoff runs. Even with the really hard division, I think just the talent of Rodgers, he's an MVP candidate year after year usually now. But obviously he needs to win the big game. That's obviously been his struggle for many years now. And I do think that one thing about the NFC is there's not a whole lot of talented quarterbacks now. I mean, if you look at it, I think that he would probably still at the top. Obviously the AFC, a lot of the quarterbacks are bright. Allen and Burrow and Mahomes and Herbert and stuff like that. So I don't know. I really like the hire, but obviously it could be even better if Rodgers ended up going there. Like, in terms of the situation, it would look pretty good.
And what about you, Christy? What is your thoughts on the Denver Broncos hiring Nathaniel Hackett? What grade would you give that, and why?
Probably a C because they primarily, I think, hired the guy just to see if they can get Aaron Rodgers. And if you're right about Rodgers staying in Green Bay, then this really wasn't worth it. This hire wasn't really worth it because they're going to need a lot of help everywhere.
Yeah, the Broncos need a lot of help, but they're not in a win now mode. They're a team that is still rebuilding, and that I do expect Nathaniel Hackett to get his own quarterback. I don't expect Drew Lock to stick around. I think Teddy Bridgewater should stick around as a backup to whoever that may be. That's why I want Matt Corral there, because I think Matt Corral could be the solution to the Denver Broncos' issues at quarterback. Because I like his game at Ole Miss, and I think that his game could really translate into the NFL. So
maybe. We'll see what happens.
Anyways, the next coaching hire that we should grade is the Jacksonville Jaguars hiring Doug Peterson. And I give that an A because I think that he is going to help Trevor Lawrence out in a big way. And I'm fully confident that the Jaguars are going to thrive with Doug Peterson. And I know Isaiah has that smile on his face about the Jaguars hiring Doug Peterson. You ready to give your grade out?
Ooh, here we go.
Well, here's why I was smiling, because I was going to say, Lowell, you're really going to ask the guy that picked the Jaguars to win the AFC South.
It was me and you, Isaiah. It was me and you.
Well, no, you picked them this year. I picked them last year with Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence, and that made me look absolutely ridiculous. But in terms of this hire, I'm going to agree with you, Lowell. I think I'll give them an A for this hire because I think that's what Jacksonville needed. They needed an experienced head coach. They needed a guy that had been there already, and they needed a guy that was proven in developing young quarterbacks, and Doug Peterson checks all those boxes. So I really like the hire for Jacksonville, but I don't think that Jacksonville, the success of their season is not going to come down to what happens on the field. It's going to come down to what happens up there in the executive box, because if Trent Baalke remains the GM and he's picking all their players, then you can forget about the Jaguars season next season and beyond, because they're going to be done because Trent Baalke doesn't know how to draft. Nobody wants to sign and play for Trent Baalke and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So if they can hire like a Rick Spielman to be above Trent Baalke, and Rick Spielman's the one making those decisions, then I have more confidence in the Jaguars. And Laurel and Christy and Ben and James, like I said earlier in the show, if Jacksonville gets Rick Spielman and they can put a couple wide receivers around Trevor Lawrence, fix that offensive line, get some pass rushing help, do not be surprised if they are if they are next year's version of the Bengals, because there's always this one or two teams that always come out of the blue and shock everybody. And you have this team in Jacksonville, young quarterback, rookie contract, a lot of cap space, number 1 pick. So they'll probably be getting Kayvon Thibodeau. So do not be shocked if the
Actually,
Jags.
Isaiah, sorry to cut you off. I have the Jaguars with the number 1 pick in the draft. I have them getting Evan Neal.
Well, I mean, Evan Neal or Kayvon Thibodeau, I don't think it'll go wrong for the Jags. But there's always these like 1 or 2 teams every year that just come out of nowhere and just shocks everybody. So don't be shocked if like the Jags, if they get Rick Spielman and put some pieces around Trevor Lawrence, that maybe they can be that team.
Bookmarking it right now.
Bookmark.
And James, what is your grade on the Jaguars hiring Doug Peterson?
By the way, Nathaniel Hackett, I would give it a for now a C, because I really want to see what he does with that offense. Yeah, they need a definite quarterback. Maybe Bridgewater is the guy, but whoever gets Jerry Jeudy going off, he had a bad sophomore season. I think whoever helps him will work. At any rate, the coach, now you mentioned Todd Peterson, right?
Doug Peterson.
Doug Peterson, duh. It's a wait and see, honestly. Like everybody mentioned here, a lot of these guys are wait and see, honestly. For now, I'd give it a B just because of the name and the experience. But we got to see if he changes the culture. We got to see if he, gets the right players. Well, that'll be the GM, of course, like Isaiah mentioned. But there's just so many questions that have to be answered. But just for the hire, I'd give it a B for now.
All right, Ben, I'll go with you next. What is your grade for the Jags hiring Doug Peterson?
I'm gonna give it a solid B. I kind of like this move. It's kind of one that I didn't really thought kind of at first, but Peterson's obviously had experience with the Super Bowl victory under his belt, and I think that work with kind of younger quarterback that is probably for the best for him, just because he's coming out of a situation where he's probably hasn't coached before. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't probably go my hot take and say, there can be the next version of the Bengals. I do think though they could probably potentially be up there in terms of competing to be with a lot better than they were this past year. I do think that they still have a lot of work to do. They're rebuilding still. I do think that they need to still really boost their offensive line, the talent around. Chris Godwin, I think that, a lot of like the younger teams seem to always have more of the cap situation. And, Chris Godwin just played in Tampa Bay. He would not really have to go too far in state. I would not be surprised if Chris Godwin would be a great guy for a guy like Trevor Lawrence, even though he wouldn't, obviously go from a great, from a really good situation to kind of a crappy one. But I would not be ruling that out because, I think I did read too that Chris Godwin, whether it was a team like the Jets or the Jaguars, if the Buccaneers moved on from him, I think that there could be there will be some suitors, but I think obviously the teams that have the cap will be able to pay. And that's why I think I would love the Patriots to get him. That's a dream scenario, but I know for a fact that we obviously need to spend it on a different other positions here. So, but I would love Chris Godwin at a place to maybe help like Trevor Lawrence. I think that'd be really cool.
And what about you, Christy? What is your grade on the Jaguars hiring Doug Peterson?
I'll give it a B. I mean, I think it's a really good hire, and hopefully the Jags do well under Doug Peterson's. Like Isaiah said, as long as the Jags GM stays the hell out of the way, then the team will do fine. If he starts sticking his nose in where it doesn't belong, you can forget it. It's going to be rough.
Definitely going to be rough here.
Yep.
Hey, can you send the breaking news button, Laura? I want to tell you something that I just got.
Ooh.
Here we go. Breaking news.
Woohoo! I don't think it's working.
No, we don't do breaking news buttons on the extra point.
Oh, okay.
So if you have something, you could definitely say that.
Sure. So this is from Ian Rappaport. This about 1:02 in the morning. So it was kind of recently an article.
Oh.
Obviously, it's in terms of the Brian Flores situation. The latest that I'm reading here is the Dolphins' Stephen Ross could lose the team by owner vote if NFL investigation into tanking allegations are proven true, which essentially, if Stephen Ross offered it, Brian Flores alleged to the recent lawsuit that Stephen Ross offered to lose games, and a league source confirmed that the owners could, in fact, vote a fellow owner out under the most dire circumstances based on league rules, if it comes to a certain vote. So, things could definitely get a little crazy there with the vote situation in Miami, and that obviously can lead to some bad tension.
All right, Isaiah, you wanted to correct something on here before we talk about our next head coaching hire.
Yeah, I think earlier I said when I was giving my take on the Jags, I think when I was finishing, I said that do not be shocked if the Jags win the AFC. I meant to say the AFC South, not win the AFC and make the Super Bowl. Like, I'm not gonna go that far. I'm not saying the Jags are making the Super Bowl next season, but I would not be shocked if they surprised a lot of folks and won their division. So that's what I wanted to correct before we moved off.
Yeah, I think that they're going to surprise a lot of people next year now that Doug Peterson's the head coach of the Jags. And I'm looking forward to seeing Trevor Lawrence take his game to a whole nother level, which I'm really confident in. But anyways, on to the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going to go first, start with Ben, and then I'll go with James next on the hire here. I mean, Ben and I have been familiar with this name as Patriots fans ourselves, and we're sad to see him go. But at the same time, I am very excited to see Josh McDaniels get another shot at being a head coach in the National Football League. And I'm very excited to see him work with Derek Carr. I'm going to give this a solid B for the Raiders to make this hire, to have him and Dave Ziegler together, which I think is going to work. I really am confident that Josh McDaniels will prove himself the second time around as a head coach. It didn't work out in Denver, obviously, because he had one good season with 8-8, and then year two, it was just a fluke. Didn't work out with Tim Tebow, and I'm excited to see Josh McDaniels work with Derek Carr in what he's going to do with the Las Vegas Raiders. And I do think that the Raiders are still going to be a good team, and I do think that Derek Carr is going to get a contract extension. I'm very excited about this, and I think that they're the Patriots West, if you look at it, Ben. And what grade would you give the Raiders in hiring our guy, Josh McDaniels?
Well, I'm going to give a A-. And James, I don't know you guys are now the Las Vegas Patriots. It seems like now you're starting to just take all of our coaches. But obviously that's coming from a great organization that we've had. So I think it's for your guys' benefit. And I think that you guys will treat them definitely well over in Vegas. But yeah, I think McDaniels has been a very good coordinator. I do think that his time kind of ran out a bit with the team, and I think that he deserved a coaching job. I remember he turned down, I believe, the Colts job a couple of years ago, and he came back to the Patriots. So this has been kind of in fruition for a while, and I think that it could really elevate Derek Carr. I agree with you, Lauro. Obviously there's always that speculation that he might go. Derek Carr could, but I think that he should definitely get that extension. And obviously use the guys to his benefit, like Waller and Renfro, Zay Jones, I think, still over there too. So they obviously still have a good team over there. I think the Raiders are more likely to kind of be this year's version of the Bengals, just because they're kind of similar in a way. In terms of their coaching situation, their quarterback situation. Even though Burrow's a little bit younger, but I think the Raiders do have a bright future still ahead. They just went through a lot of baggage off the field that kind of really just held them back for a lot of how would they wanted to get to their next goal. But I think if they get things together, I mean, why not them? Things obviously can be crazy here in this league, and we saw this year the Bengals, a 14 team that was just out the year before. Now they're in the Super Bowl and 3 points away, about 5 minutes left, maybe in the fourth quarter from even winning it. So. Obviously crazy things have happened, and but I do like the move from the Raiders to McDaniels. I think that Josh Jacobs will benefit, and obviously Elliott Wolf over there too, who's part of the player personnel, has been doing a great job for New England too. So, like I said to James, I think you guys will do well with him, and I think it'll be a good high B+, low A-.
Oh yeah, Ben, I can't wait to, and also next year, our Patriots take on the Raiders. I cannot wait for that matchup. I'm actually going to circle that matchup on my calendar for when the schedule comes out when the Patriots take on the Raiders, because I can't wait to see Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels go head-to-head next season, Ben.
Yeah, I do think the Pats are going to the Raiders on their schedule.
Yeah, they're going to
the
Vegas,
new-
and
yeah, so that
and
should
it will
good.
be
That should fun.
McDaniels versus Belichick going head-to-head. That
Yeah, maybe-
game,
Maybe we'll see Mac do the gritty again like he did in the Pro Bowl there. So
we could, but I think that, and let me tell you the record of Josh McDaniels facing Bill Belichick as the head coach. He's 1-0 against Bill Belichick, his head coaching career.
Mm.
So I wanted
Pretty
to throw that out there to you because he beat Bill Belichick when he was a Denver Broncos head coach, and he beat Brady and all that. So, James, I'll go over to you. You're the Raider fan, and as a Patriot fan myself, you're gonna get one heck of a football coach in Josh McDaniels, a great executive in Dave Ziegler, and you've stole pretty much almost all of our coaches. And I do think that Josh McDaniels is going to do a great job with Derek Carr and Josh Jacobs and Darren Waller. And I do think that he's gonna have a great year in his first year as a head coach for the Raiders and his second go around as an NFL head coach.
Yeah, that matchup you mentioned, Josh against Bill, I can remember that was a season where you guys were wearing the throwbacks and Denver was wearing throwbacks and Denver was wearing that hideous uniform or whatever. At any rate, every day I hear more and more better things about Josh McDaniels, and I guess that's encouraging. I'm hurt by others. I'm scarred by others and don't have trust with others, right? Because we've been to this stage before with a new head coach. So, but doing things, quote, the Patriot way when it hurt, actually, when you try to do things other ways, in so many different ways, by the way. I hope the scouting and the talent is better and it doesn't cost as much, but that goes with the GM now. I would give the Raiders a grade. It keeps going up every day, honestly, in my head. I definitely say for now a B, but hopefully it goes up. But I'm just hoping the best. Again, a lot of all these coaches getting hired is fine, but it depends on the roster too, and in what scheme everybody's going to play in and fit in. So for now, it's a B for me, and I just hope the best. I hope this is Patriots West, and with that comes, playoff appearances and championships, everything I want, and I haven't had in my lifetime. I really want that.
And let me go to Isaiah on this one. What is your grade on the Raiders hiring Josh McDaniels?
Oh man, from listening to his interviews and his press conference, it really convinced me that I think he will be a better coach the second time around, and I think he's going to be a really good, solid hire for the Las Vegas Raiders. So I'm going to give it I'll give it an A, actually. I think that he's walking into a team that's built to win now. They have the pieces. They just need to put more pieces on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that with McDaniels' ability to unleash the offense and, Josh Jacobs being better, Derek Carr is going to be better in the scheme and get a little bit more or get a little bit better wide receivers, I think the Raiders – are going to be a force to be reckoned with. So I like this hire for the Raiders. I really do. And I think that definitely Dave Ziegler is a massive upgrade over Mike Mayock. No disrespect to Mike Mayock, but he had no experience as a GM or in scouting prior to coming to the Raiders. And I would say McDaniels is a better or is an upgrade than John Gruden. So I love these hires by the Las Vegas Raiders.
If you look at it, Isaiah, I'll tell you this. I had Josh McDaniels either being the Raiders head coach. That wasn't my first choice. I wanted him to go to Houston because he would have worked well with Nick Caserio. But I think McDaniels and Ziegler, I think they're going to do great things in Las Vegas. And Dave did some great things for the Patriots front office as our de facto GM. and director of player personnel when he replaced Nick Caserio in that role. And I have no doubt in my mind that Dave Ziegler is going to do a phenomenal job as the Raiders general manager. And I say that as a Patriots fan myself, and coming from and talking about the Belichick coaching tree. I have no doubt in my mind that Josh McDaniels is going to do a great job coaching the Raiders. And I do think that Dave Ziegler is going to do a great job having the final say on that roster.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're definitely an upgrade over what the Raiders had, but you can't really judge it until the team starts playing games.
And predict this: week 1 for the Raiders, they'll be in Denver week 1, so that Bronco fans can just boo Josh McDaniels. I want to see that.
It'll be war.
Well, I want to see that already. Josh McDaniels going back to Denver. Ooh, sign me.
Oh man, as the head coach of the Raiders, and he walks into the Mile High Stadium, and I want to see fans just heckle him.
Oh, this is like gonna be Mike Shanahan. Remember when he was fired by the Raiders, went to San Francisco for a year, then went to Denver, and came back to Oakland, and everybody in Oakland hated him at that time. And then he beat the heck out of the Raiders. But sorry to spoil your memory on that, James. But man, this is gonna be a great battle for sure.
It is. Raiders Broncos next year is going to be great. Raiders Chiefs is going to be great when McDaniels goes up against Reed. But I don't mean to be biased. I would go for McDaniels over Andy Reid because they're both good offensive minds. But I know Andy Reid's the better coach because he's had way more experience than Josh McDaniels. And then McDaniels going up against Brandon Staley. And I love Brandon Staley to death as the Chargers coach. And I think he's going to do wonderful things for the LA Chargers in the near future. And I think the Chargers are going to be even better than they were this past year. And I'm going to go to you, Christy, on this. What is your grade for the Raiders in hiring my former offensive coordinator of my New England Patriots, Josh McDaniels?
Well, I'll give it a B+. I'm just hoping this time around it's better than when he was in Denver. And I hope he definitely does a lot of really great things with the Raiders offense, like with Derek Carr, because I don't think John Gruden had any faith in Derek Carr, no matter what. And, everything just comes together and they start winning.
And then let's go on to the Minnesota Vikings, as they're going to be officially hiring Kevin O'Connell as the next head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. I think that this hire is going to benefit Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins will work with Kevin O'Connell. They work together in Washington. And I do think that the Vikings offense is going to be better than it was this past season. And I think that this will be a good first step in the right direction for the Minnesota Vikings. And Isaiah, let me go to you on this one. What is your grade on the Minnesota Vikings hiring Kevin O'Connell? I'd give this a solid B here, like I did with the Raiders with McDaniels.
Man, I would probably give it like a B-, but I'm not really sure about this hire, honestly, because he hasn't really called the plays for the Rams. And you guys have seen some of those Rams coaches, or some of the coaches that come out of great offensive coaches' trees. If they don't call the plays, they end up being like trash. Look at Matt Nagy. He wasn't really calling the plays when Andy Reid was there, and then he went to Chicago and he tried it for the first time and he was trash. So for me, it's wait and see on this hire. I personally would have rather Jim Harbaugh be the next head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. I thought that with Jim Harbaugh, his ability to win right now, being a guy that would also bring in Vic Fangio, I thought that it would have been a great move for the Minnesota Vikings. But obviously either Harbaugh turned it down or Minnesota turned down Harbaugh. I don't know, but they went to O'Connell. So I don't really know. I think that it could be a good hire, but it also could backfire because Minnesota has a veteran team and he's a very young coach.
And what about you, Ben? What is your grade on the Vikings hiring Kevin O'Connell?
Yeah, I thought this was
former
interesting.
Belichick player, though, by the way.
Yeah, he was. He's been around, I think. I would say probably give it around a B-, a high C. This actually, though, will entice Kirk Cousins in terms of his contract, because I do think that they have pretty good communications between the two, and I think that Kirk Cousins really needs a coach that believes in him, or else I think he feels like he probably would go somewhere else. And so, yeah, I think this is a good situation for him because if Kirk Cousins is satisfied with that, and I think Shefty said this during the AFC title preview show on ESPN that Kirk Cousins situation, he only has another year left on his contract option. And if you have Kevin O'Connell with good, connection between the two, I think it's a good match. And who knows, possibly that could entice Cousins to get an extension with the Vikings. If they have a coach that'll be around.
And what about you, James? What is your grade on the Vikings hiring Kevin O'Connell? And then Isaiah, I'm going to go to you next because we're going to talk about 49ers South next.
Okay, so I think it's a B- for now, or maybe just B+. I want him to bring whatever he did with the Rams to the Vikings and take Justin Jefferson to the next level. Make Kirk Cousins play easier, his decisions easier, instead of forcing things, make the right throws and all that. I would love for some of the Rams playbook to get into the Vikings. It's just another name, but hopefully it works out because that Zimmer thing lasted a long time and they can never get any better than where they did. So it's really a fresh look for Minnesota. And I'm really interested to see how they do. Well, it depends on Aaron Rodgers, I guess, but in that division, I want to see if the Vikings again can do damage. I'm looking forward to that.
All right, now let's talk about the Miami Dolphins, which is potentially going to be 49ers South in South Florida, as they hired Mike McDaniel as the next head coach over Kellen Moore, as Kellen Moore was the runner-up for the job. Mike McDaniel is now in Miami, and I know, Isaiah, you said he was raw, and I do think that this is good for Tua and Jalen Waddle to have Mike McDaniel around. And it looks like the AFC East has an offensive-minded coach in South Florida, and then the rest is defensive-minded head coaches with Bill Belichick, Sean McDermott, and Robert Saleh of your boy from the New York Jets. And you got to talk about how fun that matchup is going to be next year when Robert Saleh and Mike McDaniel are going to go toe-to-toe, and those two will be playing chess when the Dolphins and the Jets meet in the regular season series. So, what is your grade on the Miami Dolphins hiring Mike McDaniel? And do you view this as 49ers South?
I do, but I think that for McDaniel, like I said earlier, I think he's too raw of a coach, and he's a guy that's a really good play caller, or he's a guy that's a really good, schemer. But there's more to being a head coach than just being a schemer. You have to lead men, you have to be good in the locker room, and you have to handle, different situations that happen. So I think McDaniels will be fine on offense, but I'm worried about like the other parts of the organization. I'm worried about the defense. I'm worried about just what's going to happen like in the locker room and all of that stuff. So I'm worried about that. I think McDaniels will be fine on offense. I think that if you're a big Tua fan and if you're a big Jalen Waddle fan, you should be excited because I think he's going to use Jalen Waddle just like how the Niners use Deebo Samuel both in the running game and in the passing game. And for Tua, I think with Tua, I think a quick passing game and a run-heavy offense would really fit him well. And let's not forget this. When he was at Alabama, the reason why he had a lot of success in the Kyle Shanahan offense that Steve Sarkisian brought with him from the Atlanta Falcons after he got fired by the Falcons. So he played really well in that, Kyle Shanahan style of offense. So I think with that offense, having him back in that offense, I think he could have success. But once again, I don't think it's going to be the offense that has issues. If McDaniels does have problems, I think it's just going to be the locker room. That's what I'm worried about, is how he leads men in that locker room.
Oh, I think he's going to do a great job leading men here. And then do you have any thoughts on Anthony Lynn now being assistant head coach? And I think he's going to be the offensive coordinator for you guys.
like I'm okay with the hire just because he's not going to be calling plays. He's a great running backs coach, and he's a guy that is great at drawing up plays for the running game. But we all know it's going to be Kyle Shanahan that's going to be calling the plays. But the guy that I'm kind of bummed that my Niners didn't hire is Vic Fangio. I wanted Vic Fangio so badly back on the Niners, but he's going to take the year off. So that's like the one that's like the one coach or candidate that I'm like really bummed that we didn't get. But other than that, I think Anthony Lynn is a solid hire.
Absolutely. But anyways, Ben, talk about the Dolphins hiring Mike McDaniel. He did keep some of Flores' people with him, like Josh Boyer as defensive coordinator. He's still trying to find an offensive coordinator, though. But what grade would you give the Dolphins in hiring Mike McDaniel?
I'm gonna give it a C. I think he's just so young. He is raw, like Isaiah said. But I do think that once he builds things up there, I think that him and Tua will have a good relationship. I did read something just now, very interesting, that it said new Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel did not call plays when he was with the Niners and the OC. He said, in quote, "One thing that I've noticed in my journey is the successful play callers don't isolate themselves; they utilize the people around them." And I thought that really kind of caught me because, he's obviously going to a different conference in the AFC. It's his first time as a head coach, so it sounds like he's saying all the right things. And obviously, the belief if you say the right things, the Dolphins run a 7-game, winning streak for a lot of this past season. So they have a lot of belief between a lot of the players. They extremely turned things around after it looked like essentially a pretty miserable season. So with all that being said and stuff, it sounds like that coach I think could get the job done, but he has a lot of raw stuff there with him. So I think it could take some time.
And what about you, James? What are your thoughts on what is your grade on the Miami Dolphins hiring Mike McDaniel?
In the first place, I know, I guess Flores had a riff with the organization, so I thought he was building something very special there in Miami, and all that's gone away in a heartbeat. For Mike McDaniel, though, you guys, set all the strategy and whatnot with Tua, the defense and the running game, and not being so explosive, but being very conservative, and that's fine. Oh, sure, that's great. Isaiah did mention with the locker room and with the players. I think as a young coach like McDaniel is. Hopefully he relates to the players well. It seemed like in San Francisco he did. His pressers are very funny, by the way. And then, like I said, everybody seemed like they liked him, and it'll all come down to, beating your division. Now you play your former employee with the Jets twice, and it's a tough division, no doubt about it, and we'll see how he does. But for now, I'll just give it a C for now.
All right. And anyways, with that being said here, now we'll talk about the New York Giants. They hired Brian Daboll as the next head coach. He worked with Bill Belichick. He worked with Sean McVay. You and I, Ben, know him very well with New England. And how happy are you about Brian Daboll being the next head coach of the New York Giants? And I think he's going to do good things for them. But just know that it is going to take time for the New York Giants to get back to where they want to be. And I do think that the Giants will be even better with and I do think that the Giants will be even better with will be better offensively with Brian Daboll. He is going to save Daniel Jones there. But if, like I was told this, if the Giants go 8-9, then the Giants might move on from Daniel Jones, and then they give Brian Daboll his own guy in next year's draft.
Yeah, I think this is a fantastic move. Even Josh Allen, the quarterback for the Bills, obviously he was with Daboll for a while. He was very happy for him, because Josh Allen was at radio earlier this week. He was saying a lot of high praise for Coach Daboll and stuff like that. So when you have a guy that arguably played, quarterback at one of the highest levels, that we've seen this year, say it to a guy, really believes in and how good of a guy he was, and I think he deserves his chance. And the Giants' structure their coaching situation has been miserable the last couple of years. I think that you add him, and then you add obviously a couple other playmakers. Your defensive coordinator was the guy from the Ravens, correct?
Yes, Don Martindale is a good hire for the Giants.
So they added him, and they just added a bunch of things there. It just all comes down to Daniel Jones. I still think there's a lot of question marks with Daniel Jones, and they obviously need to figure out their offensive line. It just seems like every year they always seem to have trouble with their offensive line situation, but their coaching seems like to turn it around. It just all comes down to the players and stuff.
And what about you, James? What is your grade on the Giants hiring Brian Daboll?
Yeah, I'm hearing great things about him. The roster though isn't great. I'm hoping it works out. As Laurel said, give it a lot of time. It's going to need 2 to 3 years for this program. I say program, but you know what I mean. For this team to get back on track to decency when you really think about it. I'm hoping Daboll brings in his own quarterback or someone like him. I don't think Daniel Jones, as good as a runner as he is, he can't complete passes. The question was Saquon Barkley. I don't know if he's going to be there or not. I know Daboll wants him to be there and needs everybody to be hands-on and ready to go and buy into what he's selling. So right now, definitely give it a B in hopes that things really improve there, although it's going to take time.
All right. Anyways, with that being said here, now let's talk about the New Orleans Saints, and then they hired Dennis Allen to replace Sean Payton. Ben, what is your overall reaction on the Saints hiring Dennis Allen, and what grade would you give the Saints for hiring Dennis Allen?
I would give it probably a good B. He comes from within the organization. Obviously, replacing Sean Payton's hard to do, but I think this is an interesting move for them. And the Saints have always had a really good defense. I just think that their quarterback, they got to get the quarterback, and they got to get some pieces around. We'll see if Michael Thomas comes back, because obviously I think he still has some good football in him. Kamara obviously has a suspension, so we'll see. Well, I don't know if he'll get suspended, but he probably will, all unlikely, and that's probably your best offensive weapon. So I really think it just comes down to who you get via, trade or, draft and stuff like that. But you got to really solidify your quarterback situation. But I think Dennis Allen's a very good coach, and obviously he stepped in for Sean Payton against the Bucs this past year, when Payton had COVID. And he did a great job. So I think that he really knows a lot of the scheme, and I think that it's going to be a good hire for them.
Definitely is going to be a good hire for them as well. And what about you, James? What is your thoughts on the Saints hiring Dennis Allen? He used to be your head coach of the Raiders.
Don't remind me of that, Loro, please.
Right.
No, that's I don't have a lot of trust in him. I guess I'll give it a C plus. You're in the system already. You know all the players, but honestly, there's so many questions about the roster right now offensively. So I just think he's a scapegoat there. He'll be gone within 2 years. I don't know if he'll even make it out after next season. But experience before with the Raiders, I didn't like him there, and he was not ready. And as I said before in other programs, I hope working with Sean Payton and learning from him that he's learned something to be better around this time being a head coach. But for now, I'll give it a C plus.
All right, folks. So anyways, I'd give the Kevin O'Connell hire to the Vikings a B, Mike McDaniel a B for the Dolphins, an A for Brian Daboll for the Giants, and I'd give this a C for Dennis Allen. It was kind of an average type move here. So anyways, with that being said, I hope everybody had a great night. I mean, it's time for some final thoughts and announcements. So folks, next Sunday, the Extra Point team will be back together to put a bow on the 2021 season, and we are going to be looking ahead to 2022 for our favorite teams. That's what we're going to be doing next week. And also, we'll be kind of talking about some free agent predictions as well, early free agent predictions as well, about where they're going to go and why. And also talk about some draft needs as well for our favorite teams and all that. And we'll also talk about what the bad teams that missed the playoffs last year, they need to do to try to get in the playoffs next year. So that is going to be happening next Sunday to put a bow on the 2021 season. And then we will not have our next show until March 13th, before the new league year will begin that week. That begins on March 16th. So basically March 13th, the show after next Sunday, we're going to be back here again to preview the upcoming free agency when the new league year begins. So, Ben, what are your final thoughts?
Well, I just want to say thank you guys for a great weekend. I know that I felt like I talked quite a bit with you guys, but I really enjoy it. You guys are, my good buddies on here. It's been great. And obviously, the people that joined here, thank you all. And, like I said, congrats to the Rams on, finishing off almost a fantastic season that, the league has really put on. Obviously we kind of look at COVID, the situation with it, but, the NFL did a great job. I feel like going for a second straight year to really kind of put off a great product. I know you could say with the reffing and stuff like that, but, take that away. I thought this was one of my favorite playoffs that we've seen in a long time. A lot of great matchups, divisional round, championship, and even the Super Bowl. Just the close games, the sitting on your edge of your seat. And, it's just going to, it's always the next year. There's obviously that's when you have football, but the offseason is going to be a lot of fun. Obviously we've been reading the Kyler Murray situation, the Carson Wentz situation. The offseason and quarterback carousel is going to be crazy like last year. And, it should be a lot of fun with that, the draft. And so, football obviously never goes away. The offseason never really sleeps. And, obviously until next year. But I appreciate everything with you guys. And just thank you guys for everything. And I hope you all have a great week ahead.
Yeah, great week ahead coming up here. What are your final thoughts, James?
My final thoughts are with the people of Cincinnati who stayed up in cold weather, watched that Super Bowl, came up 3 points short. Hopefully the Bengals will be around for a while and make some more noise and continue what they're doing. They obviously have a bright future, but the night is all about the Rams. Lots of deserving veterans on that team to win the Super Bowl. I'm just happy for all the fans out there who saw the team move to St. Louis and then can't come back to LA, like my dad, Casey King, among others that I know and that are celebrating, popping champagne, whatever the case is. I'm just happy for all those folks. Not really the bandwagoners. They have nothing else to do, but I guess it all rolls into one, honestly. I'm excited about next week. There's so much going on in the NFL. Like Ben mentioned, it's a year-round thing. It's not going away at all. There's no labor talks or any crap like that. There's so much still to put together, honestly, with all the quarterback situations and whatnot. And it's already given me a headache thinking of all the destinations where all these players can go and all that. So it'd be a fun show on the Extra Point here next week, and then March 13th draft show. I definitely can't wait for it. I'll be definitely prepared, and I will really have to think about where everybody's going to go, honestly. So thank you.
Oh, yeah. My final thoughts is that it's been a great season, great show, as always, and can't wait for next Sunday to put a bow on the 2021 season, talk about what went right, what went wrong for our teams. I know James, I'll have questions for you about your Raiders, and then Ben and I will be kind of breaking down the Patriots 2021 season. What went right for them? What went wrong for them? Talk about potential changes to the coaching staff for next season. Since Joe Judge is now back, he could be our de facto offensive coordinator, but I think he should be the offensive coordinator if Bill O'Brien is passed up on, because I think O'Brien might be staying in Alabama for another year or something like that. And I also will tell you that how confident I am about Mac Jones making a leap in year 2, Ben. And I tell you what, I am more excited about this kid, and I think that we have found our guy in the post-Brady era.
Yeah, like I told you, man. I mean, Mac Jones, I think, bias aside, has a lot to improve. But I do think that, if we make a lot of offseason adjustments with him, I mean, I'm more worried about our coaching situation, with the coordinator. We've lost a lot of guys, so we have to really kind of find ourselves there. But, yeah, I mean, Mac, of course, is far from the issue. I can say that. And, I just think that, we have a lot to really prove in this kind of new era for this team. But it should be really exciting. Really exciting to kind of see where this team really can, take us.
All right. Anyways, folks, with that being said, for Ben, for James, for Isaiah, Laurel signing off for now. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you next Sunday on The Extra Point to put a bow on the 2021 season and look ahead to the 2022 NFL season, which is going to be kind of a wrap-up kind of show before we dive into the new league year in March.
I ain't choose the game chose me. I'm a champion, I need some trophies. I can draw the lane, I can shoot the 3. I can run 100 yards, I can throw it deep. I ain't choose the game chose me. I'm a champion, I need some trophies. I can draw the lane, I can shoot the 3. I can run 100 yards, I can throw it deep. I do not know defeat, no. All I know is eat. I am ahead of these boys. All they see is cleats. 10 toes down, they won't get the best of me. I've been cooking all day, they want the recipe. No rookie, I'm OG. I am the king of the league. That mean I do what I please, whenever I please. I keep a trick up my sleeve, whenever they coming from me. I'ma pull up from the half, right in your face, that's a 3. I ain't choose the game chose me. I'm a champion, I need some trophies. I can draw the lane, I can shoot the 3.